believe in working my body in a certain system, a routine. I believe you start with the deltoids. You pump up blood into the deltoids. Then second exercise would be the pectorals. The blood runs down into the pectorals. And while working the pectorals, the lats are already getting worked. The blood's there, so the blood goes there. So you work deltoids, pecs, lats. While working lats, you're warming up your biceps.
Right.
After that, you do biceps, and end with triceps, and that's it. See, that way the blood goes deltoids, pecs, lats, biceps, triceps.
Well, so you just sort of follow the...
Yes, you're not pumping blood to the calves, to the deltoids, to the stomach, to the back. I mean, it's ridiculous the way they do things.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to be a thinking bodybuilder. You can't just go by somebody else's routines and go around circles and do this and that, jump around. There has to be a method, logic.
Yeah, precisely. Yeah.
Right.
That's what's so missing from a lot of today's stuff.
Right. Okay. I will start with deltoids. I would do 3 sets of 3 exercises, which was 9 sets total. I would start out with upright rows, 3 sets. And press behind neck, 3 sets. Then side level raises, 3 sets. And that was my deltoids. That was 9 sets. But I would do them with very little rest in between and with good high intensity. I believe in high intensity. Okay, after the deltoids, I go to the pecs. I do first a set of barbell benches, wide grip, or about 4 inches from the colors on the Olympic set.
Really? Why would you do a wider grip?
Oh, because with a narrow grip, you have a hard start and a fast finish. Mm-hmm. And if it's too wide, you have a hard start. You have an easy start and a hard finish. I would get something so when the start and the finish was the same.
Well, I see. So more or less what would be called balance resistance.
That's right, yes.
Even through full range.
That's right. Full range of resistance. So a person should find a place where it's best for them, maybe 6 inches from the Olympic set or 8 inches, whatever's good for them. Something where the start and finish are more or less the same. It isn't like a hard start, an easy finish. Then I would go to incline dumbbell presses. Mm-hmm. I think I was the first person who ever did inclines. I established the incline bench, and I started doing incline presses and incline curls and things like that. I use dumbbells, and I would use about 110s in each hand.
Really?
Yes. So I would do a real good style. I would go parallel to my body and parallel to the ground. I'm right. And back and forth like this, swinging it, then touch the plates, go out like this and down again. And I just go just level. I do 3 sets of those. Then after that, I would do flying motion.
Just supine flies?
Yes. But what they call flies these days, they're not doing flies. They're doing bent arm laterals.
Oh, really?
They call them flies, but they're not flies. Flies, bent arm laterals, are with the palms facing each other. Mm-hmm. Those are bent arm laterals, which they call flies. Those are not flies.
What
flying is with the thumbs in. The thumbs in, bent arm makes a difference. And I do flies offset. In other words, what I'll do is put the plates jammed against my thumb and have it hanging down here, so it makes more resistance. It's more difficult to go there that way. Like this, it's even. This way, it's more difficult all the way up. Or we say like flies this way, it's difficult then easy. Difficult, easy. This is all the way up. Offset flies.
Did you find it affect much resistance difference by more bend in your elbows, less bend in your elbows?
Well, I'd bend my elbows to about, let's say, 30-degree angle and keep them there, as if I'd picture, if I told a person how to do the exercise, I would tell them to do it as if your arms are in the cast.
Oh,
at about a 30-degree angle, keep them there on the way down, all the way there. And offset your plates this way. In fact, if I really wanted to get a good workout, if I was home or something, I may put, let's say, 2 or 3 plates on the inside and about 5 on the outside to keep a real
Oh, I see.
angle on there. So the people today, they're doing the wrong thing. They're doing bent arm laterals.
It's a misnomer.
They're not doing flies, right? Just like they used to say prone presses. Well, it's impossible to prone presses because it means prone, you're lying on your stomach.
Yeah.
It's the plane presses, right?
Yeah.
They called them prone for years, didn't they?
Yeah.
They're wrong, right?
For a long time.
Right. Okay, that would be my pecs would be through then. Then I go to lats. I would do chin behind neck, and then I would do the low pulley rows.
Mm-hmm.
And another thing that they do wrong, even Arnold and Lou and all those guys, they do it wrong. I've seen pictures of them doing it. They will start with their legs. You have legs bent slightly, which is fine.
Mm-hmm.
They will start with their arms all the way forward like this. Then when they roll in, they will move their upper body all the way back like this, and back again like this. That's not the right way to do. The right way to do is to keep your body forward all times and move your arms only. Don't swing that body back and forth. You're working your lats, not your whole body. I see those guys doing it, even Arnold. They go like this, just go all the way back and go forward again. No, go all the way forward, keep yourself there, and do it like this.
It seems to be their form as a result of trying to use too much weight.
You're trying to use too much weight, and you watch the other guy, and you see this one guy doing that, and you're only 18 years old or 16 years old. That guy's 25 and he has big arms. Must be the right way. It may have taken him 10 years to get those arms, but it could have taken him 2 years. He did it right.
That's true.
All right. Then I would do one arm rowing. Then over on the bench. And way back.
Pull up to your hip, right?
Back to the hip, right. Bring it forward, back to the hip, one arm rowing. Real smooth. That was my last. Yeah, 3 sets of one arm rowing. And then I would go to biceps. Well, at the last, I was doing only incline bench curls, which I like the best. I would do 9 sets of those, starting off with 75 pounds and working down to 50, and not go below 50.
Mm-hmm. How many reps do you feel are important? Those particular exercises?
Oh, I used to do between 8 and 12.
Really? So 8 and 12 is
8 to 12. I figure that's a good amount. But sometimes I would mix things up. Like, I don't believe in keeping the same routine all the time. In fact, I don't even like to call a workout a routine because I like to call it a schedule.
Mm-hmm.
Because a routine means doing the same thing over and over and over again. What I like to do is change my schedules. Like, I may use the same exercises. But we'll say maybe one day a week, I might do between 5 and 7 reps. Another day a week, I'll do between 7 and 11 reps. And another day between 11 and 15. That way you confuse the body. The body's used to really exerting for those 7 reps. Then all of a sudden, you hit it with 15 reps. And it has to change completely. So it really works out well.
Doesn't have time to adapt to
Right.
it particularly.
Or a person could do it this way, work out 1 month, let's say, with 5 to 7 reps, then jump from 11 to 15, then go somewhere in the middle again, back and forth. You can do it that way. Instead of changing each week, which is difficult, you have to remember how much weight did I use when I did 7 reps on the incline bench curl. You have to remember 3 different routines, you see, all the different ways. It's difficult for a lot of people unless they keep their schedules.
Yeah.
But I believe in mixing it up to kind of confuse the body so it doesn't get into a routine and stay there.
Yeah, I'm not sure what physiologically how long it takes for the body to adapt, but it's very quickly to particular stress and adapt, and that's when programs
Right.
start.
Okay, then I would go to triceps. I would do 3 sets of the overhead pulley. Hands about 6 inches apart, elbows to the side, slightly back from the pulley so you get a long, sustained push. From there, I would go to the bench and do this tricep bench curls with dumbbells. Like that.
Oh yeah.
Arms parallel. And after that, I would do one-arm curls, where you lie down and you let the weight cross over just in front of your ear, like this.
What's the advantage of doing it? I've never tried that, but I've seen
The advantage of that is to get this.
Oh, that hits the
horseshoe.
the lateral head.
That's right, yes.
Okay.
Right.
Well, it's good because I've seen lots of pictures
You're
of that, but I've personally never.
Yes, to get it from a different angle. See, the reason I do all the 3 different exercises for each muscle group is to work the muscles from a different angle. Except for incline curls, which I find are so outstanding, and it does get it from every angle if you do them correctly.
How is it done correctly?
Oh, no swinging, and also with your plates offset. In other words, the weight's jammed against the. This time the weights will be jammed against the inside of your palm, and hanging down from the thumb side. So it's always difficult to sit, so it gets you in that curl position there. Even if the dumbbell, you get regular stock dumbbell, you just jam your hand against the inside of the plate, let it hang down that way, and you give them a twist this way. When it gets down to the bottom, you keep twisting this way. When it gets down to the bottom, you let them relax to straight like that, and twist them in again. And it really works well.
You mentioned in one article that you, when you did incline curls, you used something called a rear stop bar.
Oh yes.
What is that? I've never heard of that.
Oh well, we'll say the incline bench will be like this. Back of the bench, where you have your back, you put little rings there, and you put a stop bar against there, so that your arm is held in one position at all times. So you don't go swinging back like this, or swinging forward like this. Your arm is braced against that bar. You go up like this, and down again like this.
Oh.
Yeah, I used to use what I'd do is I'd make brackets and bolt them under the bench, and then I would get a 1-inch bar to go through there about, maybe 18 inches wide, 24 inches wide, whatever. And then I'd get some collars that I had made out of aluminum that were about 3 inches diameter, so that you wouldn't have the pressure in one place on your tricep there.
Right.
See, if it's only 1-inch bar, it kind of gives a pressure in the tricep. But if it's a 3-inch bar or padded, you can't feel it. It just holds you back. That's really great. I really like that a lot. So then when I finished with my triceps, I would go to my legs, which I would do half squats, 3 sets, hack lifts, 3 sets, and then I would do some front squats, 3 sets, leg curls, 3 sets, calf raises, 3 sets, and 1 set of sit-ups, my abdominals, and a set of hyperextensions, my back. That was it.
Really? When you did half squats, was that primarily for the upper part of the thigh?
No. Half squats is parallel squats.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
So people call them full squats today. In other words, parallel squats.
Yeah.
To us, parallel squats was when you put your butt against your knee. That's full squat.
Yeah.
So a half squat to us is what they recommend today, parallel squats, where your foreleg and your thigh are on the right angles to each other. So those are called, full squats today, but we call them half squats.
Half squats.
Parallel squats, we call them.
For the front squats, I guess, would work more of the lower thigh.
Yes, it would,
and
right.
You would get, more range on that exercise.
Yes,
also.
you would, right. See, the front squats and the hack lifts kind of build the similar areas. What I found with a lot of bodybuilders today is they'll have too big upper thighs, not big enough right above the knee.
Yeah,
a couple muscles come in above the knee there that look good and give you a lot of strength there.
It's true that it's not very much lower thigh development to go.
There's lower thigh development, but not in proportion to the upper thigh. In other words, the lower thigh development is there, But the upper thigh development, I'll challenge it so much that it doesn't look like it's, the proportion is not there. So that was my routine.
Did you alter, like, was your repetitions different for lower bodies compared to upper body, or it's still about 8 to 12?
Always the same,
8 to 12.
except for calf raises. And the calf raises about 20, 25.
20, 25?
Right, yeah.
When you go up to repetitions that high, is it possible to use a heavier weight with that, or would you have to cut the weight down for the higher reps?
No, I mean, in other words, if you plan it that way, if you plan to do 20 reps for your calves, you use the weight that you could do 20 reps.
Yeah.
In other words, you wouldn't use something you can only do 10 reps. And I wouldn't cheat. I'd go all the way up and all the way down, and I'd concentrate on having all the pressure, all the weight on my big toe.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people do calf raises with their toes pointing out, toes straight ahead, and toes in. You don't need to do that.
No.
That's a waste of time. All you have to do is point your toes straight ahead and put 90% of all the weight on the big toe as you go up and down.
That's
right.
That covers it all.
That's right.
Okay, so did you?
See, here's my calf today.
Oh. It's not a calf, that's a cow.
Right. So, that's my routine.
What, and you only did 3 sets of calf?
Right. And I didn't do those for about the first, I didn't do those for about a year. Because when I started working out, I wasn't proportioned right. In other words, I had pretty good legs, but the upper body wasn't developed because I'd never worked. But I did a lot of bicycling, so my legs were in pretty good shape. So when I started working out, my arms were 13 and a half, and my calves were 16 and a half.
Oh, really? Yeah.
So there were 3 inches out of proportion right there. So I didn't work my calves at all until I got my arms to 16 and a half, and then I built my arms and my neck and my calves up to 17 together, 17 and a half together, 18 together, 18 and a quarter together, and I left them there. That was funny for me.
18 and a quarter. Wow, that's,
Yeah, right.
That's very big. Especially today. I mean, I was talking to some bodybuilders and trying to get some accurate measurements from them today, and it's nearly impossible.
And another thing, what they do is they give measurements after they're pumped up.
Yeah.
We would take our measurements when we got up in the morning. You know what I mean? Before we exercised or anything like that. It wasn't pumped after exercising or anything like that. It was just cold, I mean ice cold. We got those measurements. And in those days, the guys would let each other measure, you know. I'd measure George Eichmann's arm, Armor Tandy would measure my arm. I mean, it didn't matter. I mean, we knew what we had. We weren't conning anybody.
Yeah.
And we knew it was going to be there tomorrow. We knew that we didn't take our steroids, which we didn't take on them. I mean, these guys today, if they don't take their steroids, a week later, their arm's going to be an inch smaller or something like that. We weren't worried about that because we didn't have to rely on those things.
Well, what sort of supplements did you take? Okay. Did you?
Or we would take things like Doc's gelatin, brewer's yeast. But the thing with gelatin, it's about 87% protein.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't utilize the protein because it's missing a key amino acid, which you'll find in eggs. So if you're going to take gelatin for protein, you have to have eggs with it, or else they won't work for you.
What sort of gelatin is this? You refer to, like, when I think of gelatin, I think Sheriff's Jello or something like that.
Well,
is it like that, or is it something?
No, it's that without the sugar.
Oh, really?
Without the sugar flavoring. Haven't you ever had real gelatin?
No, never had that.
Well, sure. You can buy it in any health food store or any grocery store. Doc's gelatin, or just plain gelatin. Like I say, it's about 87% protein. So that's where we got our protein from, right there.
Okay.
But the guys who didn't eat eggs with it didn't get developed fast because they were missing one amino acid.
Amino acid, yeah.
And if you don't have all of them, you're not going to grow.
Complete, yeah. Well, getting caught up in the conversation. How many calories would you consume to build up? Like when you were in a bulking stage, I guess.
I never was in the bulking stage.
Building stage.
Building stage, right. No, what I'm trying to say is, a lot of people would bulk up and then trim down for shows, contests, pictures, or whatever. No, every pound of muscle I put on was good muscle all the way up. When I first started, I was 16 and a half years old, and I weighed 163. Okay, I worked out for a month, and I went on the scale. I was looking a little better, more firmed up, more in shape. I still weighed 163. But that month was kind of tone the body up, get my metabolism working well for me. And then the following month, I went on the scale. I weighed 173. I gained 10 pounds of solid muscle.
In a month.
You can see it growing in a month. The following month, I get another 10 pounds of solid muscle. The following month, another 10 pounds of solid muscle. In other words, after working out with weights for 4 months, I was the best built guy at the gym. The guys would work out 3 or 4 years. They couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
They thought, miracle happening. I think it's because, number one, I didn't give myself any limitations. I didn't know it was difficult to build muscles. You know what I mean?
Obviously.
For me, it wasn't.
Yeah.
I wasn't different. No one told me, well, that's really hard to do. You have to work for years before you can gain itch on your arm and things like that. I had no limitations, and I used extreme concentration. In other words, when I'd work out, I would concentrate on the muscle worked. Concentrate on the movements, doing them nice and slow, so I could feel the movement on the way up, all the way down. Use full range of motion, and it really worked out well for me. Because what you have to do is you have to create a superior line of communication between your brain and your muscle. Mm-hmm. And you can only do that 2 ways, by concentration and by practicing muscle control in your spare time when you're not working. Because when you can flip those muscles, thing like that, that means you have great communication between your mind and your muscle tissue. So by building up a greater, superior line of communication between the brain and the muscles, I was able to develop much faster and easier. In other words, I didn't put so much time into it. I'd work out 3 days a week for about 2.5 hours a day. Probably 2.5 hours, counting my upper body and lower body. And the other 4 days a week, I would rest. Because rest is just as important as working out.
Yeah, if not more so.
A lot of these people, they don't have the recuperation period in there. They work out, then they work out, then they work out, and they work out again. They're tearing down more muscle than they're building.
Did you ever find that doing 9 sets per body part, 2.5 hours, 3 days a week, did you ever feel overtrained on that?
Never.
No? Not even that volume of work?
No, because I got all the 4 days rest.
That was, yeah.
Right. In other words, I was putting in maybe 7 hours a week training. That's all. Just think how many hours there are in a week.
Yeah.
Right. I'd never feel overtrained. Never. In fact, I wouldn't have to take layoffs or anything like that because I'd never feel overtrained. I'd always go to workout looking forward to it, seeing if I can do a few more reps today or maybe raise the weight a little bit or whatever.
Well, when you were, let's say you were training for the America or the universe, when you wanted to get more defined, would you include aerobic activity then to supplement your training?
No, I didn't.
Primarily diet?
No, like I said, I was always in fairly good shape. You know what I mean? I would just train a little harder. In other words, I would train a little faster.
Yeah.
I would increase the intensity by having less time in between each set and each muscle group.
So basically, you did absolutely nothing different?
No, just increase the intensity.
Just roll out of bed and went to the contest.
That's right. See, in other words, what you have to build a body is a well balance of intensity and duration. If you have too high intensity, you can't work very long.
Right.
And if you have low intensity, you go for a long duration, but you're not getting the benefits because it goes on and on and on. You're wasting your time. It's a waste of time. So you have to have intensity, a balance of intensity, duration, and a rest period for recuperation.
So there's a definite threshold to intensity.
Yeah, that's right.
You have to do a certain amount of sets, and anything below that is too high and
that's right.
non-productive.
That's right. And I guess each individual is different. Probably a person will say with slow twitch muscles, they should probably do low reps, we'll say from maybe 5 to 7 reps or something like that, because that's them. But a person will say with the fast twitch muscles, they can do something with more endurance, we'll say from 12 to 15, and maintain it for a longer period of time. Get along better without getting tired. You kind of have to go along with what you are, but you can modify it slightly.
So how about when, I guess living in California, you require tan naturally. Did you do anything special before a contest to deepen the tan? Or?
Oh, I would eat a lot of iron in the form of raisins and drink a lot of carrot juice, because iron in your system makes your skin a little reddish, flesh. And carrot juice makes it a little orangish. So red and orange together with a little sun will give you a real brilliant tan.
Really?
Yes.
So carrot juice. There was, you said there'd be a period where you wouldn't train at all, and then when you go for film, you'd start training again. Would you employ the same routine, or do you use a different routine for training for the film?
No, I'd use the same routine. I would just eat a little less.
Yeah.
Yes. Now, I wouldn't go on a diet, but I wouldn't eat forcing to feed either.
How about people like people who are in their 70s who are just starting weight training? Is there any particular advice you give them who are just starting out, aside from to get a medical checkup?
Well, I would say get a medical checkup, and I would say to maintain your body, or we'll say a person who's starting to work out, we'll say at 50 or over, and who wants to get in better shape, or a person who's been working out for years and wants to stay in shape. All they need is 3 sets for each muscle. They don't need to do 9 sets.
Yeah.
All they need is 3 sets for each muscle. So I would advise them not to do more than 3 sets for each muscle.
No more than 3 sets.
And I would say that an ideal routine for anybody, whether young or old, if you could arrange it with your time, is to work out 3 days a week, but have the maximum time of rest in between. Say, work out Monday morning, Wednesday night, and Saturday morning.
Oh, I see. So you prolong the...
Right. So you get yourself another 12 hours or whatever rest. Or we'll say, if you can't do that, we'll say work out Monday night, Thursday morning, and Saturday night. That way you have prolonged rest in between to recuperate, kind of balance it. If I were to work out again and really try to get in shape fast or gain size or whatever I wanted to do, that's the routine that I would definitely go on, because I've done it before and I know it works. And you never feel fatigued because you have just the right amount of time to recuperate in between. Where Monday, Wednesday, and Friday is fine also, but then you have Saturday and Sunday to rest. But sometimes you rest too long, it's hard to get started again.
Yeah.
And maybe that 48 hours you have in between workouts, it might not be enough. Maybe 60 would have been better, or whatever, you see. So I think that's the ideal routine.
I see. Yeah, well, that would be. The recovery, as you say, is a very important factor.
I mean, if I had somebody who had my potentials, or I could train them to be to hit the top if they had my same mentality. But you can find a guy with the greatest potential in the world. If he doesn't have that certain mentality, that drive, you can't help him. You know?
Mike Mentzer actually commented on that very issue. He said that personal genetic potential is maybe 1 in 100,000 has the potential, and of that maybe 20 people or something like that, there's maybe another 3 that would have the intelligence to know to train correctly to realize that.
Exactly. Not only they don't even have to have the intelligence to train correctly, they have to have enough intelligence to follow somebody who knows and have the drive and the desire and the discipline.
That's true. Well, how do you keep in shape at the present? Because you're obviously in good shape.
Oh, 2 days a week, I'll take bicycle rides. Like for instance, there's I wish I could show you, but it's a long ways away. There's a mountain pass from Borrego Springs up the mountains to Ranchita. It's 12 miles of about a 8 to 9% grade all the time. Well, I'll get on my bike there, and I'll pedal solidly for 2 hours, really giving it a go, boom, 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 not letting up, not missing one beat, at about 75 revolutions per minute. I have a computer there.
Oh,
A little computer on my bike about the size of a 4x3. And I'll get on there and I'll put it in a certain gear, and I'll pedal about 75 revolutions per minute all the way up that hill. It takes me about 2 hours. But I worked into that.
Yeah.
Because about 5 years ago when I started biking again, there was a hill down here close to where I live that has about a 9% grade, and it's about 3 miles long. Well, it took me, I think, 3 months to make that hill. 3 months. Yes, because I was able to make the first half mile. Then my legs would just puff up and they'd shake and tremble, and I'd be breathless. So I'd been on the level and a few hills for about a week. Then I'd go back that same mountain again and add a quarter mile to it. In other words, each week I had myself programmed for a schedule that each week I would gain another quarter mile on there. Because I knew I could do it. You see, if I would give myself maybe a half mile progression each week, I may have failed, and that would set me up for failure psychologically for the future.
Yeah.
I didn't want that. I'd rather do what I thought I could do and stick with it until we hit the top of the hill, which I did. It took me about 3 months to do it. But now I'm in good enough shape, which I'll do. I'll add maybe 2 or 3 or maybe even 5 miles each time instead of a quarter mile or something. You see what I mean?
Yeah, 5.
And so I'll do that 2 days a week, and I'll do my on that day. I'll come back and do a little upper body work afterwards. You see. I have a machine out in my garage, but similar is riding a bicycle, only with your upper body. I'll show it to you.
Yeah, I'd like to see that.
You pedal with your arms. So I can get a complete workout by just riding my bicycle, coming back, and using this, I call it torso trainer. It's pedaling with your arms like you're pedaling a bicycle, because when you're going forward, then you get your triceps and deltoids. On the way back, you're getting your biceps and your lats and your lower back. And
Pretty complete, yeah.
yes. Then afterwards, I'll do a set of stretches and a set of sit-ups. I have a perfect workout.
You do that twice a week?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, well, after that ride, you need 5 days to recover.
Actually, sometimes I feel so good when I get back from that ride that I'll ask my wife, "You want to go for a walk for a couple hours or so?" She'll say yes. And I'll put on weights. I'll put on 40-pound weights, 20 pounds on my waist, 5 in each hand, and a pair of combat boots with 2.5-pound ankle weights. In other words, I'm weighing about 195, 200 now. So I'm using 20% of my body weight, which would be 40 pounds. And I do that for about an hour, about twice a week. I do bicycling, like I say, twice a week, twice a week. Then in between is just short bicycling, just to prepare the muscles for the hard ride, and to get them relaxed after a hard ride. That's what I do. And another thing I do is this. I found it really works, and I think it might work for bodybuilders too. I would like someone to try it. Let me know.
Okay.
On the day that you work out, before you work out that day, we'll say if you work out in the morning, it doesn't matter. In the morning, have your carbohydrates, but after the workout, the rest of the day, have basically protein, predominantly protein. But the day before you work out, have predominantly complex carbohydrates. It really works well. For my biking, it works terrific.
Really? Well, what is a complex carbohydrate for those who wouldn't know?
Like oatmeal with, let's say, a few almonds in them, and apples and raisins. That'll be a good breakfast for high carb. And many bananas you want during the day. And whole wheat spaghetti with a sauce that doesn't have any meat, or this is on your high carb day. It doesn't have any meat or oils in it. And some corn, a lot of corn, like cornbread, cornmeal mush, and buckwheat, things like that. I find it really great. It really gets me. I mean, sometimes I have so much energy that I feel like going and tipping my truck over. I mean, literally,
Really?
I have that much energy a lot of times after I'm on that high carb. And it really works well. Then after I get back from my ride, like I say, on the day I exercise, after the exercise, for the next day or so, I'll have about half and half carbohydrates and protein to rebuild what I've torn down. Hit your protein after your workout, and on the day before your workout, you hit your carbohydrates.
Well, if
Complex. Okay, my recommendation for diet is this: that you have 60% complex carbs, 20% protein, and not more than 20% fat.
okay,
Right.
let's say it's the protein after the workout. Let's say one of the bodybuilders is going to follow your routine, training advice, and for a protein intake, let's say they buy the Knox gelatin and eggs. How would they mix that up, and what frequency should they be taking?
Oh, they wouldn't have to use that. They could have protein, meaning they could have tuna, or they could have chicken, or turkey, or even real lean beef. Or if you mix the Knox gelatin, for every tablespoon of for every heaping tablespoon of Knox gelatin, you should have one egg, preferably soft boiled, not raw, not hard boiled, soft boiled, or it has to be fried so it just barely turns white. That would be a good proportion.
Okay. Would that be put in a blender with it?
No,
With the gelatin? No.
no, you put the orange juice, we'll say, in the gelatin. Yes, the gelatin would be an orange juice,
Okay.
but the egg, no. The egg would be separately, right, yes.
Okay.
You could put it in a blender, but that would kind of spoil it, you know.
Be a lumpy drink.
Oh, sure, you put orange juice, banana, honey, and the gelatin together. Makes a heck of a good drink. And eat the egg separately, maybe with a little bit of whole wheat toast if you want. But it really works well. I've been trying it now for about 6 months, and I really notice the difference. I'm 60 years old now, and I can do things endurance-wise that I couldn't even dream of at 20, 25 years old.
Really?
I couldn't even dream of, no. In fact, many times I'll be riding my bicycle along the highway, and the guys on racing bikes, and when it comes to a hill, I'll pass them like they're standing still. You know what I mean?
Unbelievable. Just
Because I have that power there, and sometimes we say during the wintertime when it's raining, one day a week instead of going on a long bike ride like I do, I'll go my universal leg press out there. I have a leg press there. It's what do you call it? Variable resistance.
Oh yeah.
Right. And I'll put equivalent to about 200 pounds on it, and do 1,000 leg presses in a row, continuous. It takes me 46 minutes.
1,000 leg presses.
Right.
Oh.
200 pounds. It takes me 46 minutes. I worked up to that too. You know, I started with 100, then 200, then 300, then 400. So I worked up to 1,000.
You must have unswerving concentration.
I do, right.
45 minutes. Right.
Yeah, 46 minutes it takes me exactly. Right. It takes about 1 second each way. 1 second down, 1 second up. 1 second down, 1 second up. I have a certain rhythm there. And see, breathing is very important when you work out. Breathing is very important. Because you have to think of yourself as a giant carburetor. And so you have to get that oxygen in there in order to metabolize glycogen in your system. You have to mix them together, glycogen and the oxygen together, your blood system, and that gives you the energy.
What is the advantage of the high repetitions, like 1,000 repetitions?
For endurance.
Just for endurance.
You're right.
Yeah.
In other words, for endurance, for biking, for hill training for the hills. In other words, if I can't go on the hills that day, I'll want to make sure that when I do go on the hills the next time, I'll be in better shape than I was the last time. So I'll do leg presses specifically for that, 1,000 of them.
Your leg must just be blowing up like that when you get up.
A little bit, yeah, a little bit, right.
What are your thoughts regarding today's 6 days per week, 20 sets for body part training?
No, I think it's ridiculous. I think it's a waste of time. I think they would get twice as much benefit with half as much work and much more pleasure. Because here's what I figure. When you're working your muscle groups, you're also working your nervous system. You know, the concentration, the stress of trying to get that last rep in and things like that. That's great. But the next day, you don't think about it. You think about something else. You don't worry about it. And your whole body recuperates again and even gets stronger. But if you're going to exercise twice a day, 6 days a week, when do you have time to recuperate? You don't have it. And if you're going to do that, you can't be giving your all, those 2 workouts a day, 6 times a week, because it wouldn't be possible.
That's right. Yeah.
No, you couldn't. So it's just like jogging compared to running. I believe in running. In fact, I used to run the mile just for exercise years ago, and I always used to try to be within sometimes 5-minute mile, 5 minutes and a few seconds, and things like that. I used to do that about twice a week. Try to get within 5 minutes at that time. The world record wasn't even 4 minutes at that time. But I worked up to that too. I paced myself. So the point is this: when people jog, they have to kind of hold back. They're going to go to a marathon. Let's say they're going to jog run a marathon. They have to hold themselves back because they were giving their all. They'd be out of wind at about 200 yards or something like that. So they have to hold back. The same with those routines where the guys work out twice a day, 6 days a week. They can't be giving their all because it's impossible to give your all that many times a day, that many days a week without getting stale and starting to hate your workouts instead of enjoying them. I mean, I think it's a waste of time. It's ridiculous. And I think Mike Metzer, he thinks the way I do. He's probably one of the only people that does. But he got good results in a short period of time. And he enjoyed himself in life.
Yeah. The steroid problem in bodybuilding today. Why do you feel it came about?
Well, I mean, I think it's a terrible thing because actually bodybuilding should be a health-oriented sport instead of a drug-oriented sport. I think it came about because people wanted to take the easy way to get there. And one guy took the easy way and started getting results. And so somebody else thought, well, if he did it, I'll do it. And went back and forth. And the magazines, instead of discouraging it, were encouraging it. And the judges were giving trophies out to the person with the biggest legs, not the best developed legs, the biggest arms, not the best developed arms, and etc. And so it just got out of hand. I've talked to many professional football players who take steroids to get bigger, and they say that they would rather be 20, 40 pounds lighter and play the game, but the other guys facing them on the line are, we'll say, 250 or 260 or 280, and they're only weighing 220. They can't really function well against a person weighing 50 pounds heavier than them. But they said if everybody would go off steroids, we'd all be playing at our ideal weight. By the way, I think for an athlete, the ideal weight would be, according to height, we'll say we'll start at a person 6 foot tall, we'll put 200 pounds.
Mm-hmm. And
then, as progress each inch over 6 foot, add 15 pounds. 6'1", to 15, 6'2", 30, etc. And under 6 feet, you just drop 10 pounds. Like a person will say is 5'11", 190. Mm-hmm. And even for bodybuilders, I think that would be great. It worked for me. I was 6'1" and 215, and it seemed ideal for me.
Yeah, can't dispute that.
Right.
How about genetics and training? do you feel that you can only improve so far? That is, this DNA limit your ultimate potential?
Well, there is a limit, yes, but you can outbalance that limit by having deep concentration and making sure you have all your amino acids when you in your diet and the proper vitamins and minerals. You can offset it. In other words, a person who has a great potential genetically, who doesn't eat right, who doesn't train right, can be outclassed by a person with less potential who does everything right.
Mm-hmm.
Just like a lot of athletes will say, like Pete Rose, I mean, he's out there giving his 110% at all time. He's a good athlete, but he's not really gifted.
Right.
But he excels. He's a champ because he wants to. He has concentration. He's in there pitching all the time, giving his 110%. Where another guy, he's always been good. He'll give about 90%, but his 90% isn't as good as the guy's 110%. You see what I mean?
Because he's always been able to get by without really putting
that's
it out.
right. That's right.
When you were competing in contests, did you and you have to go through the usual pre-contest rituals of shaving and stuff like that? Was there any particular method you used to shave down?
I just use electric clippers.
Electric clippers, yeah.
Right. Real fine electric clippers.
Mm-hmm. You just do it like what, 2 weeks before the contest?
No, just 1 week. So maybe even maybe 2 days before, so it'd be complete clip. There's clippers that have different like you get from the barber, barber clippers. You just get the kind that shave real clean. That's it. Real fast.
Okay, jumping over to the personal category here, what was the favorite film that you made?
My favorite film. My favorite film was my last film, which was called A Long Ride from Hell. It was a Western, in which I was a star, co-author of the script, technical director, participating producer, and it was very difficult to do it. But I loved the Old West, and it was a book that I had read. One winter in Switzerland, I read about 100 Western novels, and out of the 100, I found 3 I liked. So I wrote to a literary agent in New York and said, I'll be interested in taking an option on these 3 or one of these 3. So I'm sorry, he said, John Wayne has option on 1. He said, if Clinton Walker has the option on the other 2. He said, but I understand he's going to drop the option on one of them in February. He dropped the option on the one I wanted. So all the 100 books I got,
really,
I got the one I wanted. Right.
Did you read a lot of Zane Grey?
No, he's good. Yeah, he's good.
I just looked for this.
Yeah. My favorite authors are Ernest Hemingway and Zane Grey.
Really?
Yes.
Which you like the best of Hemingway?
Oh, he's descriptive. He's very descriptive.
Read much Somerset Maugham at all?
No.
He's descriptive.
Yes.
What business and entrepreneurial pursuits are you currently pursuing right now?
None. I'm retired. I've been retired for. I thought I was retired at the age of 45, which I planned for. Then I got the idea of this power walking, and so I've been working with it for the last 6, 7 years. I actually been power walking for 10 years, but working with the book and stuff for the last 5 years.
Yeah, how did that come about? Power walking.
Well,
a little bit about that.
I wanted to do something that wasn't as jarring on the knees. You know, I was getting bad knees from running. So I thought, well, I think I'll use the progressive resistance principle. I thought instead of moving my own body weight over a certain mile or so distance, I think I'll add a little weight to it and move that over the distance and get the same results. So actually, it came about as a aerobic exercise. I was training my motor muscle to walk out real fast. And so I had a couple of them trained real well. So some friends of mine said, you know, the builders, why don't you lead us on a trail ride from Anza to Borrego, which is about 30 miles through the mountains and desert and things like that. So I thought, okay. And I was in good shape. My horse was in good shape. But I realized that these other riders, they weren't in too good shape.
Yeah.
They only come out on weekends to ride. The horses weren't in that great a shape. So I thought I would do it cavalry style, where you ride for 50 minutes, get out and walk beside your horse for 10. So when I got off my horse to walk for the 10, I started walking out real fast, you know. So I thought, well, I'll lengthen my stride. So I lengthened my stride, keeping up pretty well. But not, I felt a little off balance, so I started swinging my free arm the best I could. And I was doing okay, but then I was getting breathless. So I thought, well, I'll do rhythmic breathing. So I breathed in for 3 steps, out for 3, in for 3, out for 3. Felt great. Mm-hmm. And after 10 minutes, I stopped there and looked around, and people were about half a mile back there. Hey, this is a great aerobic exercise. I mean, I felt good. My heart was beating a little faster, but not too fast, you know. Mm-hmm. It was accelerated, but not too much. And I thought, this is a great aerobic exercise. I thought. So then I started walking up hills. And then I got in shape where the mountains felt like hills, and the hills felt like I was on a level. So I thought, well, I have to add weight to myself. Yeah. So I started adding ankle weights and hand weights. I worked up from, we'll say, 1 pound each hand up to about 10 each hand. But I found that 10 was too heavy. It interfered with my stride. So I broke it down to 5. And so I found that's the best. A person shouldn't walk with more than 20% of their body weight. 10% around the waist, and the rest divided between the hand weights and ankle weights.
How far would you recommend people cover?
3 miles. 3 miles is enough.
Yeah.
Right.
Would you be the pioneer in that particular field? Because I've seen other people try and copy that.
No, they copy that. I'm definitely
Heavy
a pioneer.
hands.
I can prove it.
Yeah. It's good, because I want to make that clear that you were the pioneer of it.
Yes, I was. And other people have been promoting walking, but they don't have a specific routine. I mean, mine is, you do this then with this much weight at that time, so many miles, at a certain age, a certain body weight, you use this much weight added, and things like that. In other words, I have a system, a routine to do. It isn't just, if you want to do this, do this. If you don't like to do that, do that. Most books let you go this way. My book is front to end. You do it the way you're supposed to do it.
Did you read or study much Greek, Roman history, philosophy, mythology in preparation for your...
No.
No? This went over and down the sandals.
That's right. But I must say, Hercules, I was fated to do Hercules.
Yeah.
Because when I was about 24 years old, I didn't have any money in life and things like that. And but there was an artist in Redondo Beach. His name was Herbert Stowitz, and through a mutual friend, he asked if I would pose for the 12 Labors of Hercules. And for some reason I did it. I used to go over there every Thursday for about 3 hours in the evening and pose the guy while he did the sketches. And I don't know. Somebody just told me to do it. I don't know why I did it. I wasn't getting paid for it. I was burning my gas. I was wasting my evening, I thought.
Yeah.
But something told me I must do it. And a couple years later, I was offered the role of Hercules. So I went over there and did it. And so Hercules has been good to me, I guess, because I was good to him or something. Anyway, it was a strange idea.
It must have been something traveling back in those areas that were really significant historically.
Oh, yes, it was.
Roman.
I love to make pictures from all the different countries. I've made pictures in Egypt, Tunisia, Greece, Yugoslavia, Italy, Spain, Ceylon, India, and probably a few others I can't remember.
What was your favorite
Egypt.
country? Egypt.
I love Egypt. I loved Egypt. I loved Egypt history. I love the shape of a pyramid. To me, the pyramid is very positive. In fact, I think I'll have my tombstone made in the shape of a pyramid.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just feel it's the right thing to do.
A little sphinx beside it.
Not necessarily, but wouldn't be a bad idea to have one. No, not necessarily. I just like the shape of the pyramid itself.
Yeah.
I think it's a very positive.
It's a long time one of the mysteries of the world, wasn't it?
Right. Symbol.
What philosophy do you subscribe to? Like philosophy of life or an integrated view of existence?
Well, my philosophy of life is to be able to function regardless of your means in life. In other words, my mentality is, be able to adjust. I can live in Buckingham Palace over there and be very comfortable. Or I can live in some little tent somewhere and be very happy with the outdoors and fresh air and things like that. So don't have too many, we'll say, material expectations in life.
An adaptation.
Right. Be able to adapt and to always try to lead a balanced life. Don't try to be a fanatic in any way.
Sounds Aristotelian in that principle. Who's been your greatest influence? One in training and also in life?
Well, it's hard to say. We'll say as far as training, when I first started training, I used to look at pictures of different bodybuilders, and there was no one bodybuilder that I thought, well, I want to be like him. For instance, I would choose, I would look at John Grimming, I'd say, I'd like to have legs like that. Now, there's a good pair of legs. He has calves and thighs and balance on legs like Grimming's. Then I look at, like Alan Stephan, I say, now there is a great pair of lats. Now there is a great back. I'll have legs like Grimming's, lats like him. Then I'll choose arms like somebody else and maybe a chest like, John Fabotnik or whoever. And that's the way I do it. And maybe a definition like Clarence Ross. So I was just making a composite of these different bodybuilders, putting them all together, and working that way.
And what about in life? Does anyone really influence you?
Not especially.
Hemingway.
He was very inspiring in his writing, yes. But I can't think of anybody really.
What do you do to unwind or relax aside from hurling up hills for 2 hours, walking about it?
Oh, I like to listen to good music. And I like to read.
What sort of music?
Well, I like musicals, operettas. Like Desert Song and Kismet and King and I and all those. Just musicals. Sometimes I like to listen to great opera singers too, but not in an opera, just singing their different songs individually. But basically, I like musicals.
So how many years have you been married?
Oh, about 25, I guess.
25. So what would you say is the secret of a successful marriage? Ingredients would go in.
I guess compromise and not trying to let the other person be themselves, more or less. Not trying to change a person too much. Giving a person a little space to be themselves. Not always trying to have a person be what you would like them to be. And not expect a person to change when you marry a person. If they change more the way you would like them to be in your style of life, that's fine, but don't expect it. Then you won't be disappointed.
Right, so right. Have unrealistic expectations.
Exactly.
Do you still keep in touch with any of your former training partners, competitors?
Oh yeah, I keep in touch with George Eichmann. He used to be a good training partner of mine. And actually, when I think of George Eichmann, I was thinking of when I was training for the Mr. America contest. What I would do is this: I had a training partner, and more or less you try to do 10 reps. And so what I do is you'd count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the 6th rep, you would name one of the competitors that was going to be in the Mr. America contest. See, I knew who they were, but they didn't know who I was because I didn't put my pictures in there until until after I won my contest. So what I would do is say number 6, you might say Eiferman. I go, boom. That means in my own mind I beat Eiferman.
Yeah.
So the next one you say 7. Instead of 7, he would say Fabotnik. I go, boom, for Fabotnik. And you say 9 or 10, whatever you say, Eric Pedersen, boom. So I knew who the 5 guys I had to beat were. So instead of 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9, I mean, there were 6, 7, and there were Fabotnik and Eiferman and Pedersen and Joe Laureano and I can't remember who the other guy was right now. Kevin Borges.
Yeah. Okay,
those guys. And in fact, that's the way they placed.
Really?
Right. They were in the first 6, and I was in the one. So I had them figured out, and that would inspire me.
good psychological.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Psychological part of it. I was winning the contest before the contest existed. Before I was actually on the stage.
All you had to do is just show up and go through the motions.
Because I believe if you can't conceive an idea, you can't realize it.
Yeah.
Right.
Who, back in those days, who was your greatest rival or competitor? Who you always watched the closest competing?
Oh, Eric Pedersen and Reg Park.
Park, eh?
Right. Reg Park. Eric Pedersen started with Reg Park secondary because he was later. In other words, he was not in the European contest.
How was Gremick as a person?
Oh, I didn't really know him that well. I competed against him, and he was always very pleasant with me. I don't really know him that well. He inspired a lot of people. Like I said, I admired especially his arms and his legs. So those could be my role models there. And he was a good poser, and he was quite limber and athletic. He could do splits and handstands and a few things like that. So he was a good person to have come before you can look up to.
Aside from yourself, who do you feel to have developed the greatest physique of all time? Do you have like a top 5?
Well, it's hard to say. The top 5?
Yeah.
Okay, Arnold, Frank Zane, Mike Metzer, Casey Vidor, guys like that. And this guy, Robbie Robinson.
Yeah, Rob's had a good shape.
You can put those guys down, Robbie Robinson and whoever I've mentioned there.
Okay. Kind of covered this. What sort of books do you read?
Books? Oh, I like to read adventure stories.
Yeah?
Right. I like to read adventure stories. That's why I like Hemingway and Jane Grey.
Lots of adventure.
Right.
And
And travel stories. I like to know about different nations and geography and
histories. What is your opinion of the advance made by machines in training? For instance, your universal machine and Nautilus machines.
well, I don't know if they're advances or not,
No.
but they're different. In other words, I think the greatest advance in those machines is that they're safe for the average person to use, whereas free weights, a person might drop them on themselves or hurt themselves. But with these machines, they kind of have the safety factor built into them.
Mm-hmm.
That's the greatest thing. And I would say also the versatility of them. In other words, you get to do movements that you can't do otherwise, like the variable resistance.
Right.
Like with the barbell, it's either hard, medium, or easy. With that, if you get the variable resistance set right, it's kind of difficult resistance all the way up and down. Pretty even anyway.
Yeah.
I think that's what it is, the variable resistance. What I really like is I like pulleys.
Mm-hmm.
I think pulleys, you get a greater resistance over a greater range of motion than barbells. I like pulleys a lot.
Pulleys are pretty good, yeah. You must
In
have
fact, I think a person could get a complete workout in pulleys, wouldn't have to do anything else.
Really? Yeah,
Oh, yes.
Pulleys are that efficient.
Sure. If you have them set up right.
Yeah.
Right.
Is it a secret setting? What's up?
Oh, I mean,
More efficient.
in other words, have cross pulleys, have a wall, we'll say about 12 feet wide, and have the pulley on one wall and the pulley on the other. So you do all kind of cross exercises for your shoulders and for your chest, for your back, and things like that.
Well, thank you very much for this interview. That's terrific.
You're welcome.